SMS Host Anywhere. I'm Chris Donahue, Senior Product Manager for Power Spring Miller Systems. To my right, Keith Landers, the co-CEO of Glad to Have You, and Mark Gordon, I'm glad to have you as well, who is the Product Manager. So super excited about this session. I've talked a lot about it in other sessions that some of you may have already attended. This is one of our core products moving forward. We are now firmly established. We have firmly established a staff-facing mobile platform with the advent of SMS Host Anywhere. Very excited about that. Unfortunately, when I planned this session, worked with these guys, we thought we had 90 minutes on this, and we only have 60, so we're going to condense it a little bit more than we may have liked. So I'm just going to take a quick few minutes here and talked about how we got to this point. Again, this is a rehash of a session yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The basic gist that I'd like everyone to take away from here today is, we've been, a lot of you have been working with us on this, asking for these products. We're about 3 years probably into this, where we have tried to establish a good, solid product offering that we could bring to market on the staff-facing side, and for various reasons that we had not been successful until this point. So back about last year at this time, we began an organizational-wide assessment for mobile. Obviously, mobile is here to stay. It is we feel very strongly that it's firmly entrenched in our future for product offerings. So we put together an assessment team at PSMS that included everyone from Larry Hall down through product development folks, through some of our sales leaders and product managers as well. The purpose of that team was really to lay out our organizational needs, define our goals, and formulate a market strategy. So we had everything on the table. We looked at potentially buying a mobile company. We talked about the option of bringing in building a team internally and having our own PSMS developed product. And then we also had, obviously, the partner aspect on the table. And we realized that in order to get a product to market as quickly as we wanted to, as quickly as you folks need that product, really we only had one option in front of us that was viable, and that was to partner. So we went through a very in-depth RFP process. We delivered, I think it was 8 RFPs out to some mobile vendors, very well-known companies. We conducted in-depth interviews. We brought a lot of these companies to Stowe to do product demonstrations and really put them through an interview process. And basically, after a lengthy 3 to 4 month process, we chose our partner, Glad to Have You. So go back now to July, which is really when we first got together. A few of us went down to Atlanta. We sat down and had a design session with Keith and his team, Keith and Mark, and really laid out what we wanted to deliver in version 1, which is a staff-facing front office operation application, and started right from there. So from July till now, we've effectively gone through full design, full build, and we're ready to certify and pilot. So this product has evolved over the course of basically from a development perspective in about 4 to 5 months. So really quick, really happy with how fast this has progressed. But now we're really excited to get this into pilot and to roll it out and make it generally available to anyone who wants it. So again, I'm not going to talk long here because we want to get Mark in here, or Keith and Mark, to talk about their company a little bit, and then also obviously get into the product. So, Keith?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So let me just give you guys a quick background about who we are. Some of you, we met last year at Kohler. It was the first time we got together. We were working with Springer Miller back then with the Glad to Have You platform. At that point, we were an up-and-coming company who was doing very well on mobile. I think we had approached, we had 60 resorts and vacation companies that were currently using our platform. At this point today, we have 311. So there are 311 resorts and hospitality companies around the U.S., North America, Europe, Caribbean, and Australia that now use this platform as their main organizational way for working with guests as an overall process. It's been a very, very successful model. We're fully integrated with most of the major lock vendors today, and we've got a list of customers that's a mile long that you can talk to that are very happy with that. As part of that whole process, and in the process of being grilled by Ahmad and Chris and Vlad and everybody else about whether or not we were as good enough as all the other partners, and we were so glad that we won. But when that whole process went through, we knew that one of the things that was going to be key to our relationship with them as being a solid partner was having somebody who truly who'd been around Springer Miller for a long time. Mark and I were very good friends. Mark was the CIO over at Sandestin Beach Resort, and as part of that process, we started talking about bringing our groups together to sort of do some neat stuff. And so Mark actually decided to leave Sandestin. He actually still has to go over there and help them all the time with stuff. We still have a really good relationship with Tom and the team. But he came over and joined, glad to have you, and became our product manager, not only on this, but on several other products. So he's our inside knowledge guy on Springer Miller. So it's been really good to have him as part of that team. So what I'd like to do is we're going to bring Mark up, and we're going to actually take you through the platform, and we're going to show you the entire SMS hosting of the platform. When you see this, this is a version 1, but from a version 1 perspective, it has a tremendous amount of functionality in it. The goal behind the platform was simple. We wanted to provide you the ability to do 90% of what you do at SMS in the lobby. We want you to be able to do that on a portable device. We want you to have all the knowledge you can know about every single one of your guests in real time. We want you to enable you to check in and check out those guests. And we really want you to be able to meet your customers' needs in any different way. We like to think of it as it's what the bellhop can use, or your concierge can use, or anybody in the organization can use. But essentially through one device, you have all the different components and pieces that you need to have that relationship. So Mark, you want to come up and we'll sort of take them through the whole thing?
Sure.
And if that part works, the rest is easy.
I'm really nervous. I'm sitting here touching the screen and it's okay, I'll go ahead. First thing that we've done is on the first screen here, what we have is all the arrivals and departures, as well as any in-house guests, canceled, confirmed, and new guests. On this main screen here, we're just using the HUD database right now. All this is stored in Stowe right now. So when I make my calls to get details about people, about reservations and guest details, it is going from here to the cloud and to Stowe and then back. And right now, we're just using the HUD database right now that Springer Miller built, so there's not a whole lot of detailed data, but you'll end up getting the idea. I don't have, for instance, it yet in-house, but afterwards we can swipe people in with demo credit cards and check people in, and we can do that later. But anyway, the main screen kind of gives you an overall quick view of who's arriving, who's been out, and who's in-house. The main top search bar, the blue icon, lets you search for any reservation number, last name. You can also do first name, group number, and group name. So at the top here, we can leverage that to find anybody that we want. The other, the button down here to the left, the green, these colors are, we try to stay close to what host colors are, although it's configurable by property. The icon here, the green one, is I just tapped it, and that's everybody that's currently arriving today. So that means the host date is equal to the arrival date. So that gives us a view of everybody that's arriving, and everybody this is departing. So everybody that's departing is on this screen. So you can quickly get to anybody that you need right away. Go back to the top. So for instance, if I'm looking for myself, I spelled that right. So it found me. So quickly I can get to anybody. The one thing I will point out on the very first screen, oops. On the very first screen, you'll notice to the right is a blue filter. So if you have a long list of reservations with different statuses, you can touch that, and then that brings up new, in-house, canceled, and confirmed reservations. So you can quickly click on that and or touch that, and it will filter that list appropriately. Any questions so far? So what we'll do is we'll go ahead. Yes.
I was just wondering, does it do multi-prop so you can go there for specific?
For not at the moment. We did have that request earlier, I think yesterday. So that's one thing we'll check. Currently, right now, no. And just by the way, when you sign into this app, you'll be signing in with your credentials through current Springer Miller credentials when you sign in through the app. We'll go ahead and choose a mod here in-house. So right now, I'm going right now and getting the ADR and all the information. Time's changed, but that hasn't yet. So on this screen here, we just give a quick overview. The top part is the reservation information. I don't know if everybody can see everything that's on there. But the res number, level, departure, number of nights, group name. On the right-hand side is more of the rate information, the rank type, status, and each of these boxes are scrollable. This is just for a quick summary of the detail. There's some folio information here, the balance, and the ADR, as well as on the right is the guest details that you can scroll down and see guest information right away. To view that in detail, we can click the view detail, and this brings it up in a more of a detailed format. And on the screen, you can slide through and look at the detail, as well as, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but when I hit edit, you really can't tell, but there are certain fonts that went just gray, certain fonts that are black. Those you can actually edit. So we can edit the name, the departure date, we can do rate and type, unit number. You can select on the unit number and it'll pull back all the vacant, clean and vacant dirty, and you can choose a room, the unit number, as well as down below on guest details. You can change a lot of the guest information right here on the iPad. It's going to say, do you want to say yes? But what I want to do, we don't have a whole lot of time.
Go ahead.
On the bottom part, you'll notice the functions. These functions down below are different. Obviously, if you're out, you don't want to do certain, there's no reason to check out and out. So the information down here, this is the action bars down here. So for this particular one, we just did view detail. We can also, if they're out, you don't want to make a key. So on this particular one, since they're arriving, we can go ahead and make a key. Here, this will post to host, but the key encoders are not set up in host. When I say that, though, is for any property, what we'll end up doing is putting the configuration in the database. So all your different encoders will be listed here, as well as your different common areas that you can select or deselect on the account. So when you go to make the key, it makes it appropriate. The view folio screen. This is not a good example. We've got several that have multiple detail, and you'll see, maybe if I go to my checked out version, I can do that quickly in a minute. But you'll just have the list of the description, the credit and the debit, as well as the detail, and you can scroll here if there's multiple rows. The other thing you can do is you can print the folio. If you click on print, we also will load the printer definitions, and that way you can print the folio. And also, if there's an email on the account, for instance here, we can go ahead and send a mod a folio. To go back, hit the back button down below. The other thing that we can do is print reg cards. I guess next, I guess we're going to talk about it a little later.
Yep.
But currently, right now, what we do is the same thing: is we take the printers and we can print your company's reg card on a selected printer. Check in. Oh, I don't have my credit card reader. But on a check in, we have a credit card reader that sits here. And when you touch check in, you'll look for the credit card reader, and then you can actually take a credit card, swipe it, and then check somebody in. And then on messages, this is on the reservation message tab. What you can do is, any messages that come through, obviously, will be here. I'm just going to go ahead and use them on here. I can here and say test. And what that'll do, hit it. So the message has been added. So right now, it's been posted to host. What I can do is I can hit close, and I can recover any message at this point as well. Same, not same thing, but with notes. Notes, you can create notes, but that's it. That you can create notes and view notes, so we can add notes to the account from here. Traces currently right now for this version, we only list the traces for the account. Right now, we don't create traces at this point in time. As you can tell down below, there's now, you can't really see it, but the indicator says there's now 2 messages that have not been read. For departing, before we go into Viewfolio, there's some charges there, Viewfolio, so I can send this to myself. And the other thing that you notice, there's a checkout button. It'll come up and say there's a balance on the account. So if there's a balance on the account, they're notified there's a balance. If there's a credit card on file, we can go ahead and post directly into Host and check it. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It lets you pretty much search and get your guest needs right away. The great thing about this is I know for groups, you can type in a group number and get a group and narrow down for groups. Does anybody have any questions? Sure.
Now, when you use the credit card reader, is that also to process the keys, or do you need a different?
No, you'll have to use, for keys, you'll have to use, because all this is not a key cutter, so it's just a reader. This one is, just reads credit cards. It does more than that. It'll actually read credit cards, barcodes, driver's license, those kind of things. But for you'll need to use Kava or, yeah, so you'll still need to have an encoder somewhere in the vicinity when you use it.
One thing that you didn't mention that I think is really cool is down here at the bottom, this one says 347. This is going to show you, these are like little dashboard reports. They're going to be, we're going to have different ones for different scenarios, but like right now what it shows you is, it would show you how many people are checking out today versus how many people are checking in.
Yeah, you can't see it. Mine, there was only one that was me, because I checked myself out. You can't really see it, but it is just a wee little bit of orange down there. So it coordinates with the colors above.
Other questions?
Are there any flags for shares, or does it work any differently when you're checking them in for shares?
For shares, no, I believe.
I don't believe it works any differently.
No.
I mean, from this main screen, can you tell if it's a share with?
That's a great.
No, I mean, I could put the indication on there that it's a share, but no, I don't.
Sounds like a good idea. We'll do that. If we have the data, a lot of this stuff is really easy. Half the battle was coming up with getting the data. And when you see us, when we talk about, just so everybody understands the way this works, we are talking in real time to Springer Miller at your physical location. But we're also taking the data into the cloud. And the reason that we do that is by bringing it up in the cloud, we can cache that data and make it much faster for you. So it's really a combination of the glad to have you servers and your servers working together to produce this process in a very fast and efficient way. I mean, we're literally getting servers in Stowe, Vermont right now from our slow lines here. Imagine how much faster it's going to be at your place when everything's on the same lines. So, next question.
PCI compliance, because you're using a mobile device.
Will have to be.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Going to the cloud and everything,
Well,
that's all
Well, we're
worked
not.
out already.
The only part of the data that deals with PCI is the credit card itself. So when that credit card gets swiped through that specific unit, it then gets put in an encrypted function and passed encrypted back to Springer Miller. That's the part we have to get passed through PCI compliance.
And because currently right now, a lot of it, you're right, there's 2 parts, right? There's 2 parts of this. We're pulling back all the res data, detail data, guest data, all of that through the cloud, because I go out, hit it, and pull it through this. when the credit card is attached, it doesn't go through Azure in that direction. It actually, when the swipe occurs, it's encrypted right away and actually just posted directly into Diplomat. So it doesn't go through the cloud at all as far as the Azure instance that we use, because they're not PCI. Azure itself is not, I believe yet, PCI compliant.
Well, either way, we're specifically, that was one of the big issues we had to work through. And it's one of the reasons why today we're not going to do this on Droid on day one. Technically, there's nothing that stops this app from running on Droid. When we build apps, we always build them cross-platform capable, but it's hard to make a Droid-based credit card swiped model that we can get past doing it the way that we want to on Droid. As soon as we can figure that out, we will, just because it would give you guys different hardware choices. But right now, the iPad's the way that we can get away with that.
And so there's no problem with that going back to your Diplomat, which is running 7 or XP and.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the version of Diplomat that it has to be.
4.0,
There you go. So
post 19, Diplomat 4.0.
there you go. And that's part of the implementation. If you make the decision to go forward with this platform, there'll be an implementation if you're not on that version to get you up to that version. So, next question.
The star, you didn't tell me about the star.
Yeah, it's all, the star itself is for VIPs. What we've done is that the star will be gold, of course, everybody here's a VIP, so they're all gold. But what happens is that that'll be I'll just say an empty star, and we have the ability to configure the different codes that everybody, because everybody has different codes, we can use those to determine who's a VIP and who's not a VIP at that time.
I'm sorry, just to, you said that the VIP is gonna be a yellow star.
Just like this, yeah.
So if we have different levels of VIPs, can they be different colors? Or,
That's a great idea. We can have different colored stars, because we know what the level is at that point in time. So, but right now, all I do is if it's within the set that was configured, I just turn it on or off. But there's no reason why we couldn't easily add a different type of star, different color star.
That's a great idea. We'll do that. But and we could talk separately, and we'd love your feedback on what the best way to do it is. I mean, it could be a star, it could be icons. It's really, we spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. We have UI people that are, I mean, the one thing about this is it looks extremely simple. That was the goal, that the average person could use it without a heck of a lot of training. And we spent weeks and months coming up with a design that enables this to happen. So we're actually very open to doing anything that's necessary to support the platform, but we also are trying to live toward this model of extremely simple, extremely easy to use, which is part of the goal. So.
What's the upgrade into Atrio or?
I can take that. So, we view this product, first of all, our partnership with Glad to Have You will extend into Atrio, for certain. That was part of the whole discussion, the partner search was, we're gonna start with host first, we're gonna start with our heritage apps, and then we're gonna move into the Atrio world. So the way we view this is a, what we kind of coin as a bridge product. So if you're on mobile on host, when you do move to Atrio in the future, mobile's gonna go with you. There will be work on the Glad to Have You team side to rebuild to the APIs. But basically what you see here, whether you're running host or Atrio, a check-in is a check-in, a checkout's a checkout, so.
Yeah, there's nothing technical that says that we couldn't use this once we get to that point, but there'll probably be even more capabilities that we'd want to add in Atrio.
Totally.
But I mean, is it like a half a year and a year and a half a year product cycle where you think that they'll bridge over and work?
I would expect, just my personal gut feel, that we'll probably be looking on the Atrio side more towards the second half of next year.
When we build this stuff, we build it in a way that we separate the UI from the business logic, from the data services that actually make that happen, which allows us to go back and plug underneath it another player. And that player could be Atrio when it's appropriate in the right time.
Yeah, I mean, the work is on our side right now, on the Atrio side, to be able to offer them an API.
Other questions?
When you pull up, I guess I didn't notice, was there a housekeeping status
Yes.
on that part, so you could tell if the room's clean or not? We didn't see it.
While he's doing that, anybody else, another question real quick?
I have a question for you.
cars in that number, you guys are like, what?
Here's the housekeeping statuses here. Right there.
Can you guys talk at all about the ROI? So us as an account management team, obviously we talk to our customers, and one of the things the staff facing is that they, our customers really want to understand ROI and how this can help them with that. Can you share any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's two parts to this. The one thing we haven't got into yet, we're gonna get into Glad to Have You, the professional version in just a second. And one of the things that you're gonna see with this data set is that right now you're seeing information about your guests, and you've got the same data that you have today inside Springer Miller, right? But as you move into the Glad to Have You platform and you're implementing that with your guest, what starts happening is your guest ends up having, I'm gonna switch the screen for just a second.
Do we want to finish off real quick with the questions related to this, and we can get into the?
Yeah, let me come back, Michelle, because I will answer that, but one of the things that we do with this platform is these are tied together. So what happens is when you have Glad to Have Your professionals, you learn everything about your guests, you learn about what they care about, who's into scuba diving, who's into golf, what are the things that they like, what did they favorite, what were their things that were there, and all that data is gonna show up inside here as well. So why that matters is that when I go up and I look at Sean Arnold, what I would see as part of his information would be all the attributes that they care about. So this person's into scuba diving, this person likes that, and it's his wife Cindy, and Cindy really likes spas and et cetera, which allows you to start upselling them on those specific attributes. And you know all this because they had the Glad to Have You professional app before they ever got to your resort, because they were thinking about what they were gonna do when they got there. And so all that data rolls together into one instance because you have real-time knowledge about what everybody cares about. And that becomes part of that process. Other questions about the app?
Can you modify the photo on here? Can you do like?
Postings
No postings.
coming. We'll talk about that.
I think that's kind of my question. Like, what are some examples of checkouts where you're gonna have to tell the guest, like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go to the computer, to the front desk to check out because yours is too complex. It's got group routing, or it needs an adjustment, or.
Well, bear in mind, you're looking at the folio that you would look at directly from hosts. The reality is all the routing will already have occurred. An example that you're bringing up, though, might be if they want to change payment, if they want to do split
Or split
payments.
it.
Yeah, so.
So currently, right now, they're going to the front desk and have that.
We're trying to handle 90%, that's the goal. And maybe in the future we'll add more, so. Go ahead.
We're using tokenizations of credit cards. Would this use the same tokens?
Yes, it's all tied into the host
It's
credit
all
card
through the
process.
host system. Yes.
Is this gonna pull any resort scheduling information so you can provide an itinerary check-in?
That's actually being discussed. It's one of the items for the roadmap future. We're thinking through that. Certainly golf, we can do today, and we've talked at length about golf already. In terms of spa, that's on the table.
I'm sorry, did you say anything about touch? Do you consider touch as well?
We've talked about touch. I wouldn't say we wouldn't consider it, but right now it's not on the current plan. If you've got some thoughts on that, I'd be happy to talk to you on the side and hear what you're thinking about there. But touch basically can run fairly well using a terminal application like Jump Desk or something like that on an iPad now. I think a lot of terminal services type. So, but if you got some thoughts on that, I'd be happy to sit down with you and talk it through.
And that brings up a point that I wanted, because I was asked this a couple times today. Does this need to run on, it's preferable that you run on your local network at the resort, but if you're in a place where you don't have access to the local network, as far as the Wi-Fi is concerned, obviously I have a key cutter, but if it's something more informational, it works over cellular as well, so it's not you don't have to, you can get all the information, look at the information, and use the app without actually physically connecting to your own Wi-Fi at the resort.
Cool. All right, so we'll, any other questions real quick before we go?
When should it be available?
We hope to pilot it we've got a little bit of a delay in terms of getting it published to the App Store. We're targeting probably mid to late December for a pilot.
Yeah, why don't you mention, Michelle, the deal?
So we have a special for HUG. Anybody who wants to register, I'll be at the back at the end handing out forms. If you want to register, there's a special. It allows you to have 0 upfront cost, 2 months of trying the product before then you would go into the subscription mode. So, if you want to take this, please do, and then chat with me, and I can set you up. And if you need to upgrade to the latest version of Host or Diplomat, my team will work with you on that as well.
We've also got an iPad, I think we're giving away 2 iPads along with the SRs as well. Kind of not raffling it off, but giving them away based on the first 5 or 10 this time.
5 or 10.
5 or 10. All right.
Cool. All right, so let me, we've had a chance to sort of talk about the overall platform. These things all work together. Glad to have you Professional works with SMS Anywhere discreetly. The both pieces work together. Most of you have already used Glad to Have You. You may not know it, but the app that you're using that's running this conference, that is Glad to Have You. And you guys are participating as reservationists on one reservation. And then that's how they're actually communicating with you in real time. So that is our platform in real time that's running this entire conference. We sort of bastardized it to do this for different shows and stuff, but it's a lot of fun, right? I mean, if you talk to Marie, she'll tell you it's very easy to use, and that's part of that overall model. When we talk about the platform, most people think that Glad to Have You Professional is a mobile app, and it is a mobile app, but it's a lot more than that. Essentially, there is a back-end administration platform that Marie and Joel and everybody else use to set up the configuration on how they want to communicate with you who are guests for this specific event. And in that process, at that point, the system essentially, somebody at that point, what it does is it enables you to access that system through multiple different places. The first part of that is there's a native HTML5 mobile website view of it. For people who are guests or prospects that are thinking about coming to stay with you. Then there's a native application as well, which is really your app that represents your customers. So for people that are thinking about your resort or they're thinking about staying with you, it's one view that you can access through the mobile web and also through the website. And these are prospects. These are people who have not made decisions before. One of the questions that Michelle was asking me earlier was ROI. And so the question is, how many guests will book through this? How many prospects will book through this? And I think at Sandestin, when you were there, you guys had about 300 and something thousand?
Well, yeah, when I was there, we went live, in the app, it was very customizable, and we had reservation numbers and so forth, and we took a res number. At that time, we used Navis, so we were able to put the res number in the app, and as people use the app, called reservations, they would be able to track the revenue at that time, and within that 3-month period, the app generated, it was approximately $250,000
Yep.
over the 3 months.
Yeah, I know, and so today we're seeing those numbers, and that was actually a year ago, so today it's actually even getting faster. So 360 Blue is also using Navis, so we were able to track their numbers. And I think it was $197,000 in bookings last month alone, and that was directly from that mobile app. That's from those 2 different views we're talking about right there, or from the secondary views of when the guests come in and they rebook is part of that specific segment. Now, that's some very large numbers, but that's only a 200-unit company. So it just gives you an idea what kind of numbers people are starting to go do booking through those systems. It actually becomes even more interesting. You can talk to us about it at the booth about what percentage of people will do that through the iPad versus what person will do that through the mobile device. It's amazing the numbers you start seeing in that system. We can show you that in real time. But so once the guest becomes one of your, they become a customer for you, there's really 3 ways they can get access to all their data. The first is they can access it through your mobile app. The second is they have a web version of that that does exactly the same thing. And then there's an offline PDF. So essentially through one mechanism, the guests have access to everything that they need to know about their stay through a single platform and a single process. And we're then at that point tied directly to Springer Miller, enabling all this to happen automatically based on those reservations in that process. And then lastly, the overall platform takes that concept and it learns about what everybody does and turns that into data that you can use it to market to those people before they get there, while they're there and after they leave, and also learn about that data directly through SMS Anywhere as part of that model. Part of this process is getting the application to the guest, and so the system automatically learns based on your reservation and it provides real-time invites to those guests. It watches to see which ones are going to log in and which ones don't. For the ones who don't log in, it then re-invites them automatically until it gets all guests using the information in the systems as part of that process. The guests then come in through any of the different mechanisms they want, and we know where they're coming in and how they're coming in. So we can tell you which one's using an iPhone, which one's using an Android, which one's using the website versus which one's using the offline PDF. But we're ensured that they're getting access to everything that they care about that specific stay. As part of that process, when we talk about this, this is not a Glad to Have You platform. It's not a Springer platform or a Springer Miller platform. It's your platform. And what that means is that the entire system is 100% white labeled. So we have designers on staff that create the icons that represent your specific organization. Same thing for the splash screens. It's all based on what you want the app to look like as part of that specific segment. And then finally, even the color screens and all the entire back-end platform is customizable based on what you want to do. And then as you get into the system, every single one of you will choose a different way on how you want your guests to see and interact with you as part of that process. So as they come into the system, essentially what happens is they're going to see all the stuff about pre-arrival. But if you want to call it before you get here, you can. If you want to call it whatever you want, you can have as many or little buckets as you like to communicate with that guest. And what the system's doing is it's essentially providing each guest a unique experience from their situation. It's telling them everything about their reservation, everything about their unit, everything about the property they're in, and everything about the area that property participates in, and it organizes that data and delivers it up to those people on the fly. Now what makes that special is it's very unique, and it's done based on what they care about. So when you go in and change the room number, or the location for that specific person, or any of the reservation data in Springer Miller, all that data cascades and changes inside our system on the fly as part of that specific model. So as part of that segment, we allow you to define custom data or related to that organization. And you're seeing that today. When you see the Monday agenda, that's a content inside that section. And we didn't have to define all those things about the agendas and the items inside our system before we built the app. We built the app, and then you update the data. So you can change it anytime you want. So you can add new things, take things away, create new processes. So as this conference has went on, Maria and staff have been in there making changes to the data all the time, updating the things that are there. This afternoon, as soon as we finish, which we didn't do, it's my fault, we did not take this PowerPoint and update it to the slides. So we'll go do that, and immediately that information will be available as part of that custom content. Through one mechanism, people are able to get to everything they need to know specifically about that stay. The second part of that is really providing them all the cool things to do at your place. And at some of your resorts, what you're really going to care about is keeping them on the resort. You want to make more money off them, right? So when Mark at Sandestin, his big concern was, how could he get more ARPU per person who was staying at his specific resort to spend money on the resort? So most of the focus on the restaurants, activities, and events, and things to do were things that related to his specific resort. Or other resorts, what you're really trying to do is produce that mechanism that allows people to see this, that relate to what you want them to be able to do through partnerships you have with other vendors as part of that model. So through one mechanism, you can provide all the different things that they care about. And it's all the simple stuff you're going to expect. It's got routing, map mapping, directions, and you can see all this today in the app that you're currently at. And as part of that model, it handles the delivery of that information to people, really becoming their virtual concierge. And it's a very powerful process, right? Because you can see in real time all those data sets about what people care about as part of that piece. Of course, we're going to then produce and show all the units that people can rent. That's to the visitor, so what they can then purchase and do, but you also can then, people see which other units that they might want to stay at the next time they come there and rebook as part of that process. From that next part of that, now that you've given the guest everything they need to know about their stay, we're then going to take the entire process and enable you to communicate with that guest and really provide them a very special experience. So you guys have all participated in that as well. So you've been getting notifications that have been talking to you and telling you things that are going on here at the conference. Well, to understand the way that works is we enable you to send real-time notifications. And it's important to understand what a notification is. A notification is like an SMS message, but it's got two special attributes above that. The first attribute is it costs you nothing to send it, and it costs the person nothing to receive it. So they don't get pissed off at you for charging them SMS messages. The second thing is when you click on it, it launches the app and takes them to the specific place to show the data that you want to do related to that specific area. So we allow you to send notifications to a specific individual, to anybody staying in a specific unit, anybody staying in a specific property, anybody staying in a specific area. The other way you can cut it is I can say I want to choose to send it to people who are coming to my place, people who are currently here, or people who have already been there. And so essentially you can use that mechanism with those combination of factors to communicate and literally sell services before they get there, get them all happy about things that are going on, let them know about problems that are there. I think it was Mark and others had huge issues when we had hurricane scare of Destin many years ago, and he's able to tell people, keep them up to date in real time, and let them know what they need to do as part of that process.
And just to add to that, one other thing we just got certified is the ability as the front desk is at the front desk, and you have the res on the res tile, you have the res message. So today, if you have the long lines and you send somebody out, the room's not ready, and you want to tell them the room's ready, you don't have to flip into any other system to do that. What they can do is they can go directly into that res message, type in your room is ready, and they'll just like they normally do. And once they do that, that message is then sent through the notifications onto the app, and through the app, and also through email as well.
And so when it does that, and they read it, it then updates the flag back in Springer Miller telling you that that customer read that message.
It's already been
And it's already read and it's been dealt with. All out of the box it does that. The second part of that is you guys don't really have time to be sitting around sending notifications all day long. So there's something in there called scheduled notifications. So you can go in and create a notifications that says, send this 7 days before somebody arrives, based on all those rules I just said, and it all happens automatically. So 7 days before they get there, tell them about the concierge service. For everybody who's staying at the boardwalk units, tell them 2 days before they get there about specific attributes that relate to that thing in case they want to bring curb coffee makers or whatever. So anything you want to do, you set up these processes and it just does it instantaneously out of the box and takes care of it all the time as part of that model. So it's a very, very powerful tool. If you come by the booth, we'll show you this in more detail. That's instantaneous. You guys are feeling it every day. The next part of this is really the forms engine. So you guys are also touching that every day, and in a little bit you're about to either tell me how great we are, or you're going to slap me down and say we were absolutely horrible. So and that's the session overview. So you can go in and you can create forms that do anything inside the system. So you think of maintenance service request, check in, check out. We are fully integrated with the ability to do a full checkout inside Springer Miller as part of that model. So somebody can pull up, they can check out of the system. When they check out, they can see their folio. They can then print it and then actually email the folio to themselves automatically without ever talking to you. And then we all do the update inside Springer Miller, letting you know that that person's been updated or that person has left the resort, and it's all been handled automatically from the application in real time. So that's part of that model. But these forms can really be anything you want them to be. You can build forms into custom content. You can put reservations for restaurants. You can do literally anything you want to do. And these forms are not just special forms. Every time you guys fill out a session, we're literally putting who you are as part of that model. So when you fill out that session data, notice you didn't put your name and all that information. Well, we already knew who you were. We already knew your name. We knew your first name, your last name. We knew your reservation. We knew your email address. And all that data gets combined together with this information, and then it is sent and published into the place wherever they want it to put. In this instance, we're putting it in a Google spreadsheet, but it can really be put anywhere you want as part of that model.
And just as an example, really at Sandestin, what we wanted to do was with the schedule, well, when they check in, only when they check in, we have these we have a simple form that people fill out, because what we wanted to know was before they, after they left, we didn't want it to hit TripAdvisor if they had any issues at all. So during the stay, at any point in time, upon arrival or during the stay, they can fill in a simple form, tell them what the issue is, if there's any issues, how is the front desk, so forth. And what happens is that it gets rerouted to somebody at Sandestin, and they're able to call up and make sure that that event's taken care of, so by the time they leave, it doesn't get hit on TripAdvisor.
And there's so much to talk about, so little time to do it. But one of my favorite factors about the entire system is that when people stay with you today, you guys are only really getting access normally to the person who made the reservation with you. So in our system, you guys might have noticed the first time you logged in, it asked you, hey, do you have any other family members or friends that you would like to invite who are coming on your stay? And at that point, it sends that other person an invite, and they log in. And what happens is inside our system, we recognize who are all the people related to that specific stay. So right here, you see Keith, and this is real data, by the way. This is Keith Mon, and Steve and Shauna are also staying with them on that specific vacation. So we're learning all the data about every single one of those people. Not you're gathering their email address, you're learning about what they care about, and all the specific attributes related to that specific person, which then becomes marketable function that you can use as you move forward as part of that process. So extremely powerful mechanism to be able to support that. Let's see here.
And while I was looking for that, the other thing that we just had certified as well, and he alluded to, we can view the folio and also check out on the mobile device.
Right, and so the last part of this is now you've provided a great experience for your guest. You've really given them everything they need to know about their stay. You've communicated with them before they get there, while they're there, and then after they leave, market to bring them back as part of that model. Extremely powerful way, not only the guests, but their friends and family as part of that segment. Well, as part of that process, we then give you the tools to be able to do that. So we don't just tell you that Bob stayed with you, we tell you everything about Bob. So we can tell you very quickly who was interested in what specific item inside the system. So through the analytics, we can literally come in here and we can see under mobile activity all the different things that people were interested in and where they spent all their time. But we take that same data set about what they had an interest in, and then we roll it up based on each one of the people to create a real-time persona about that person. So if, for instance, we're in this model, you can literally come in here and you can see where people spend time and what they care about for that specific instance. So using that mechanism, you can identify what's important to people at your resort and how you want to handle that process. But then that same data set drives into the system, and so for each person, we have attributes about what they care about. And it literally rolls up into, based on what they do, we're going to create things that you can then filter and say, find me everybody who stayed with my resort in the past 6 months, who spent $3,000 to $4,000, who was interested in golf. And you press that button, and we give you that data as an Excel spreadsheet, or we create it in a model that'll go into constant contact, or whatever the other one is. Yeah, and then, or you can press a button and fire off a notification and an email to that person in real time, right from the back of the system. And all this ties together automatically between these two pieces out of the box, fully integrated as part of Sprinter Mobile. So right here, you see the attributes for that person, and this person spent $1,000 to $2,000. They stayed in 2013 at 30A. They booked in October. They were a guest of a guest. This were the units, and they were the specific data that we know about that person at that time. So you have all this being combined together to be able to use that, to be able to drive back in that system. All of this data about what they did shows up in SMS anyway. So you now, when you're talking to that person, you know, for instance, if it said this person was into trail hiking or this person was into whatever the thing they were looking at. And what we'll be rolling out next week will be favorites, where people can favorite and create an itinerary based on what they care about inside the app. And then in that same model, you can see that same data inside SMS Anywhere as part of that model. So you'll understand what do people care about as part of that piece. So, and I think that's it.
Okay. I can tell you, when we went through that process of looking for the mobile provider, the analytics that these guys have was probably the key differentiator for us in terms of the power of that capability. Okay, before we talk roadmap here, I have a disclaimer and I have a request. The disclaimer is, this is potential, and these are all the things we're thinking about. Some of them are locked in pretty much, or are in some cases. Some of these things are just other ideas that we've had. So that's the disclaimer. The request I have is of you folks that feed us back your thoughts and ideas here, because this is a brand new application, this is a platform. So we are looking to build the things, obviously, in priority order that's important to you. So keep that in mind. Feed that back through either the Salesforce ideas section, any mechanism that you'd like to get information back to us, please do. We're really anxious to hear about it. So, as I said, we're looking to pilot here at the end of Q4. Again, we've talked about that. You've seen that front office, full check-in, check-out, messaging, guest res, data mods. Again, just to reiterate a point that Mark made that maybe some of you missed. This is the authentication of the user is tied into host. So you have a single user mechanism, log on per se, where it is the host user code that the person is actually logging into. So we don't need to maintain two different user logon areas. We're talking about version 1.5 coming out sometime towards, let's just say to be safe, sometime in the January timeframe, thereabouts. The key items we're looking at for that, digital registration. So we're looking to, basically within the iPad application itself, provide that digital registration card on the application. ID image scan, being able to both potentially display, and also collect an image of an ID. For instance, passport, if you wanted to take an image of a passport or a driver's license, that data will get passed back into host and stored on the host data record. Tighter integration with profile and preferences. Obviously what Keith talked about there with the guest app on the Glad to Have You side, but also profile and preferences from SMS host. So that would all display on that reservation screen. Completing the traces capability. as we said, with version 1, you can view traces. Version 1.5 actually complete or create a trace. The other thing, this one may not make 1.5, but we're going to give it a shot, being able to display the itinerary for the guest. So similar to, Ahmad, help me out here, the reservation screen, if you're on
Scheduling bookings?
Res 5, scheduling bookings. Yeah, so it would be similar to that type of view delivered out to the iPad. So that's 1.5, again, looking at that early Q1. Some ideas we had for 2.0, and bear in mind again, as the further out we go, kind of things get a little bit more unsure of, but these are the things we're thinking of. Posting capabilities, check zoom, POS, both a posting zoom and a check zoom capability, and also driving out golf tee time availability checks. All things we're thinking about as potential. On the GMS side, talking about expanding group capabilities, and also somebody asked in a previous session about self-check-in. We need to do a little bit of exploring there. There's always some kind of challenges with keys, but we can look at that and see what we can come up with for a solution there. When we start talking into 2014, one of the items in our Host 19.1 cycle is to be able to basically compile the data needed to ship out to the mobile app. We're looking at doing it as a management dashboard console. So don't have a lot of details on it yet. Ahmad and Rick and myself and various others are going to start putting together that design. And again, your feedback will be great here. But pushing out things like the F7 snapshot to the mobile device, things your management team, your management staff would find handy to view on the application itself. Send those ideas in to us right off if you've got any good thoughts there. Again, platform, think of anywhere as a platform. We're talking about a rooms module, so housekeeping, perhaps some maintenance. I don't know if we tied into work order initially, but out of order capabilities, basically arming your floor staff, your rooms staff with capabilities to on the housekeeping and maintenance side. The last thing we have there, special billing integration. We're doing this also, we're working with this on the Cinetic side, being able to deliver special billing capabilities into these applications. On the Glad to Have You side, again, on the GMS side, talking about reservation availability lookups, so lodging. So as Keith was talking there about driving future bookings, perhaps what we can do is tie in a lookup there. We can do that today. I think that's probably somewhere we'll go with this pretty easily. Whether or not we go full booking route from the mobile app remains to be seen, but we absolutely have the APIs to do that if we want. So, in a nutshell, that's what we're thinking about for the next 12 to 14 months. Again, please give us your feedback. We'd love to hear it. Any questions?
Questions on anything you guys heard?
For Host Anywhere, you need to also go with the full Glad to Have You package.
They're standalone.
There are standalone.
Yep.
Separate applications.
Yep. In reality, you're using Glad to Have You in the background to do SMS Anywhere because they all work together, but they're two separate products. Yeah. Other questions? Thanks for your time. We appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you.